Hello, I'm HM1 Wesley Pope with the NMTSC Diversity Committee. It's my pleasure to bring this video to you guys today. We actually have members of our command that we're going to utilize to tell some very personal stories about their life and how they came to be in the United States Navy.
We need to understand that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have had such a big impact in our Navy, this country, throughout many wars. So we're going to take a little bit of our time to dedicate to the men and women who have served in our military and have been of great assets to this organization. Please enjoy the video. Stay to the end. We have some very amazing stories, very touching stories. We hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Afternoon, Chief. Happy to have you here. I was wondering if you would take the time to tell me some information about your culture, your background, and how it's applied to you in the United States Navy.
Oh, absolutely. I have no problem, man. So a little bit about myself. I'm Chief David, and I'm a Filipino by background. And back in 2000 is when it all started. So January of 2000, I received notification that my immigration to the United States is a go, and immediately following that, I was making the biggest decision in my life, which is joining the United States Navy. Back then, I didn't realize how big a decision it was. Needless to say, I was kind of clueless of what I was actually going to be doing, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and everything just spun off from there. You know, from boot camp, getting trained and getting stationed. Our first duty station was Okinawa, Japan, and learning about the culture, and it had taught me a lot up to this day. And with the way I do things now and my way of life, it's completely changed.
Do you still have family in the Philippines?
As a matter of fact, I do. Part of the reason why I decided to join the Navy was actually because of them. I thought to myself that finding a stable job in the United States might be a little bit of a challenge. So the best way to enable me to help them was to join the military, and by choice, it was actually the best choice I made. And I still keep in contact with them, and definitely doing great as well. And even in these times that we're dealing with right now, I kind of miss them. You know, being with them for the longest time and now being separated, it did pose a challenge, but it kept me going, knowing that they're actually still out there, and me being able to help them out in their daily living and all that stuff. You know, it was more of an actual encouragement if you look at it. So during the times I've encountered many different people from all sorts of background, and if we're talking about diversity as being the key factor in making the United States Navy the strongest and the most powerful Navy in the world, I can say I've experienced that, and I've seen it throughout my career. Being in 20 years, I've deployed in many locations, met different people, made new friends, and I consider them now, and they're not just co-workers, they're more of a family to me. And it's definitely something that I look back and I'm looking at 20 years beyond, and this is where I'm at right now, and I still talk to those people that I met along those years, and it's truly refreshing to see them either on the other side. They're all successful, and it's been a great feeling. That diversity definitely became a factor in my success as well, because everybody had played a role in helping me get to where I'm at right now.
Good afternoon, HM1. Can you please tell us how your culture has influenced your success? And also, can you please tell us how your interaction with other cultures influenced your outlook on life since you joined the Navy?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is HM1 Banlaoi. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I migrated in the U.S. in 2009, and I joined the U.S. Navy in 2011. To answer your questions, HM2, my cultural background has shaped me to what I am today. I grew up where everything wasn't handed to me easily, which meant I had to work hard for everything that I have right now. Also, being in the military or serving in the United States Navy, every opportunity that was given to me has been appreciated. Lastly, having close family ties and positive approach to life made me thrive in times of adversities. Being exposed to diverse cultures makes me understand other people better. It helps you become creative, innovative as a sailor, as a person, and as a leader. Lastly, it makes you have that inclusive environment, which makes me help become a better version of myself and also to contribute to the Navy as a stronger force.
Good afternoon, HM1 Jang. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your cultural background?
Good afternoon. I was born in South Korea, and when my family immigrated to the U.S., my parents had worked very, very hard, finding jobs, going from job to job, and eventually they were able to kind of open up their own business, and they were able to purchase their first home and purchase their first car, and they shared their wealth. Watching them struggle, they never complained. It was hard work, and they persevered, and in the end, we saw results. We were able to get things what we could find. We were able to live a little bit better than most. But looking at that, it had taught me just hard work, perseverance will end up in good results. And when I look at that, I kind of look at the Navy and how we have our core values of honor, courage, and commitment. And it all kind of ties in that you shouldn't be afraid of hard work, and perseverance will pay off at the end. Looking at it now, it's just that every male in Korea at the age of 18, they are obligated to serve a minimum of 2 years of service. Here in the U.S., we have this volunteer service, and you may choose to go in or you may not to, but every male in South Korea are required to serve a minimum of 2 years. And when I look at that, I ask myself, why am I not serving? And so I came in, and going to my very first duty station, I checked aboard into Okinawa, Japan. And when I checked on board, I remember the senior officer there, when I sat down and interviewed, so I was like, do you speak Korean? And I replied, I do. I'm fluent in Korean. And he just kind of replied, not so much in words, but with a big smile. And before I knew it, I was deployed to South Korea along with the Marines. And while I was there, I was serving as an interpreter, completing missions, talking with the local Korean nationals about what needs to get done and what's required from the Marines. And we were able to close contracts and complete our mission. And for that, I was valued as an asset. And it just kind of really opened up the idea of the U.S. Navy for me, and how the U.S. Navy is much bigger than I thought, and I'm just a small part of that big picture. I remember just because of the hard work, I was given a little time off, a little libo time, and I was able to go up to Seoul and just see families that I haven't seen for over 10 years. And my father, who I told him that, hey, I got a little time off, I wanted to go see the family, he had made a few phone calls. And before I knew it, I was sitting at a table of 20 plus people that I haven't seen or met in a long, long time. And it was just a rewarding experience. And that would always kind of, I'll keep that memory as a treasure. But just sharing a meal is a big culture as well in Korea, just to sit down together as a family. With small plates and sharing ideas and stories and our pastimes. And as we grow, that's how we become a little closer, and that's how we bond. And that's also something we share in the U.S. Navy, that we, praise on completing big taskers, and we learn from our mistakes and going on, and we are just open to that ideas. I remember kind of looking at the restaurant, some of the very common things that we do eat a lot is just Korean barbecue, which is still very popular in the U.S. And something as maybe bulgogi and little side dishes as kimchi and cucumbers, and also a lot of seafood and pork. These are pretty common things. And what U.S. has be recognized as how established and what the technology has brought to the U.S. as far as maybe automobile companies that are based in the U.S., such as Hyundai and Kia. These are what we drive, And products that we use, appliances such as technology, Samsung and LG, or phones and appliances that we kind of brag about at home. And looking at that now, it's just like how far South Koreans have come. But I would always kind of value that what it has taught me, what I've seen with just growing up as a Korean American in the U.S. is that don't be afraid of hard work. Hard work will always be there, and once you persevere, you'll get good results. Thank you. This is HM1 Jang.
Good afternoon, Chief. Can you please tell us about your background and your journey to becoming an American citizen?
Okay, I certainly can. I'm Chief No, and I'm the first generation Asian American. And my family, they fled Vietnam in 1980s. And I remember my grandma would tell me the story of my aunt and uncles, and they were like, yeah, your grandfather was in prison, and unfortunately he passed away. So that left my grandma with 9 kids to take care of. And not only 9 kids, but it was 9 kids with spouses, 9 kids with spouses with kids. And at the time, I can't imagine what my grandmother had to go through, like the pain of losing a husband and then the burden of having to take care of over 9 lives. So she did what she could, and she built a boat, 2 boats actually, and they fled from Vietnam. Like, she left everything. Like, the family left their houses, their loved ones, everything they knew, they left. So again, I can't imagine having to leave everything that you own, everything that you love, everything that you call life, to go and escape to a different life that you know nothing about. So she did that with the family. So they went to Malaysia, they went to Malaysia. They lived there for about 2 years. And someone told them about, if they traveled to the Philippines to a refugee camp, that they might get a spot or a sponsorship to America. So it gives them a glimpse of hope. Like, hey, you might be able to become an American one day. And that's all she needed to uproot her family again. And when they fled this time around, it was a little bit worse because during their travel on the boat, they were robbed by Malaysian pirates. They were stopped, took everything that they owned, any money, any food, any water, and they were left stranded in the middle of the ocean to die. But luckily, they weren't too far from the Philippines, and they managed to get to the Philippines. And I remember because my mom was pregnant with me at the time. So can you imagine being pregnant in your 20s? I have an older sister. She was about 2 years old at the time. So you're pregnant. You have a 2-year-old to take care of, and you're on a boat that's filling up with water. What do? Right? And God blessed them to be able to get to the land. And once they got there, they actually marched from shore all the way to Bataan, where I was born. And when I got there, Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It did, because apparently a few weeks ago, before I was born, there was a typhoon. And then when I was there was another typhoon during the time. So we were in a refugee camp during a typhoon. My mom was giving birth to me. There was no electricity. There was hardly any clean water. There was no food. And there was just a blessing in the skies, because when everything looked bad, a church from Mobile, Alabama sponsored my family over to America. Like, they got the phone call, hey, your family is going to be sponsored by a church from Mobile, Alabama. And that's how we ended up in America. And you'll see that picture. There's a picture that I sent you where everyone's like in a group photo. And that's everyone that came to America. Like, they flew like literally from the Philippines to America. But that journey, like coming to America, doesn't stop there, because once my family got here, you have to understand, they don't speak any English. They don't know anything about America, nothing at all. And they left everyone and everything they love back home in order to secure a future, not for them, but for their kids and grandkids, for me, for my kids. And that's what they wanted it. That was their hope. That was their dream. My grandmother was the heart of everything. And when she passed away, she left this huge gap. But she told me before she passed away was, family comes first, and you always got to take care of your family. And seeing my parents working so hard over the years, My dad, when he first came here, he washed dishes. He would ride his bike 20 miles away just to make $20 a day. My mom worked 2 jobs. She was a waitress. I remember I helped out at the family business. We had a restaurant, and I would wash dishes on the weekends. And through the hardship, the work that we did, it taught you something like, no matter how hard it is, there's always another day. Like, you have to look forward to the next day. I remember when I graduated high school, and a recruiter approached me and was like, hey, what are you going to do with your life? And at the time, 17 years old, I didn't know what to tell him. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So I did the next best thing, and I joined the Navy. And since I joined the Navy, I always think about what my grandmother told me was always take care of your family. And the Navy is just a larger expansion of the family that I grew up in America. And our power, our strength comes from being a big family, being so diverse, handling things in different ways and different perspective over the years from World War I to World War II to the present day. We're a great nation of power because of that. And I.M. Pei said that success is a collection of problems solved. And honoring the past, securing the future, is what we do as a nation and what we do as a Navy. Thank you.